Good morning, everyone. Thank you to all who listened in to week one and have a bit of an understanding of why I want to run this podcast. As I said, I'm very transparent, very open, very honest. There may be some times that I speak about things that are a little bit confronting, but I would hope that you would be able to understand that this comes from a lot of years of working in this field, healing, walking the walk, understanding my own programming, patterning and conditioning and my blueprint. And trust me, that was confronting for me as well. But it's all about educating. It's all about helping those that are sick of living the way they live. So let's get to the crux of today. Today I wanted to explain to you what your blueprint is, which I spoke about last week. And just one of the definitions of a blueprint is your blueprint is the unconscious program installed in childhood. By the age of 7, your brain has already learned how to survive, who to trust, how to get love, when to stay quiet, and when to fight. That early wiring doesn't disappear with age. Unless it's brought into awareness, it continues to run your relationships, choices, reactions are all on autopilot. It's pretty scary, hey guys? We are handed this blueprint by our caregivers, by family members, by siblings, by friends, by grandparents, by coaching institutes, by schools. 0 to 7 is when you form that blueprint. Now, many people were unfortunate like me and grew up in a lot of toxicity, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of violence, chaos, domestic violence. Lots of, things that are you just don't want to see anyone go through. Then you've got people that believe that they grew up in a very beautiful, loving home, but yet they're still people pleasers, workaholics, substance abusers, relationship hoppers, but they believe that they grew up in a beautiful family. And again, this is not a blame game. This is not a shame game. This is about getting people to understand what impact fundamental needs of a child that were not met or overmet can do to you as an adult. So, for example, and I will use myself as an example, I was obviously, as I said last week, grew up in a very dysfunctional, toxic household. Love was love was conditional. Love was, taken away from us and then it was given to us. It was never consistent. We didn't know what mood the household would be in due to the upbringing. So it was unpredictable. It was unsafe. So our nervous system from very, very, very early days was on high alert constantly. It was in what we call fight or flight survival. Now, if you don't know that, none of this makes sense, right? But for someone like me who grew up in that and a lot of other people who grow up in that have a form of either PTSD or complex PTSD. Now, PTSD is usually because of one event that happened, but complex PTSD is when you are constantly exposed to trauma, violence, aggression, uncertainty, unloved, emotional highs and lows. It's constantly, and your system can never get a break from it. PTSD usually comes from one incident in particular that has pushed you over, and then everything else just snowballs and, stacks on with other things that happen in life. So our blueprint comes with gatekeepers, which I spoke about last week, which is our stories, our beliefs, our values, and our identity. So the stories that we were told when we were younger, money doesn't grow on trees, all those things that you used to get told as a child, your eyes will go square if you keep looking at the TV. If you pull a face out in the wind, your face will stay that shape. Like, we believed all that stuff. I know that's just a funny little example, but the deeper stuff, you were a mistake. You shouldn't have been born. you were adopted, even those things aren't true and aren't real. Those are the things that sit inside a child's head. Kids that, didn't fit in, weren't belonging, felt like an outcast. Rather than support them, the family would say, well, what's wrong with you? What are you doing wrong? It must be you, right? So that child starts to really believe that there's something wrong with them. So then they start to look for more and more evidence to support that belief system. Children that are told to keep secrets, like that is just horrible, and I was one of them. To not tell anybody something because of fear that something would happen to your caregiver or a sibling or things like that. The blueprint of money doesn't grow on trees. People that are rich are usually, doing something illegal or come from a family that have all got money. You should be thankful I gave birth to you. I gave you life, I can take it away. Like, I know that's a joke, and I have said that a few times as a joke. I've never said it in a nasty, derogative way. But basically, your blueprint is any story that you were told that you then found a belief system to match it. And the thing is, as we get older and as we keep growing and as we keep evolving, those beliefs come with us. And if what's happening in our lives don't match our belief, we make it wrong. And we say that it's the other person's fault, or it's the work, or it's the environment, because we don't understand that not everybody has our belief system. We have these expectations of people wanting to, we have an expectation of people needing to do it our way. And this is all people. This is most people. And rather than accept and acknowledge that not everybody's got the same blueprint, everyone has a different map, a different filter, a different lens, we force our opinions, our beliefs, and our standards and our values on people, right? So in that 0 to 7, our little brains are like sponges. They're absorbing everything. And then later in life, you start to recognise that you can't seem to hold down a relationship. You are constantly insecure. You are overthinking things. You have high expectations of yourself. You're a people pleaser. You're a perfectionist. You're a workaholic. You're, procrastinator. You're always looking for the bigger, better deal. You're always looking for how you can improve the situation that you're in rather than be just happy and sitting within what you've got. You're always performing at sport and wanting the accolades and validation. Now, the sad thing is, guys, this isn't anyone's fault, because as a child, if you didn't have those fundamental needs of love, safety, security, emotional regulation, things like that, you are going to look for that in all other areas of life, okay? You can also have the parent that over-indulged with the child. Too much, I'm not going to say too much love, but the child was just so smothered and so, the word I'm trying to find, they were just nurtured, over-nurtured. The child was never able to make a decision for themselves or to learn how to regulate or understand that a mistake is, something that they learn from. Those parents that are helicopter parents and fix everything and hover and control and control and control, well, those children usually turn out to be absolutely against authority, oppositional defiance, argumentative, don't fit into a mainstream school, just really angry and frustrated with a system because they never got to regulate at home. They had everything done for them. And then you've got the other end of the scale, which is where a child isn't sure of love, isn't sure of the next meal, isn't sure of safety, isn't sure of whether they belong, whether they should be there, whether they should be picking up, what mood they should be in. Walking on eggshells is one of the most exhausting things for your nervous system. And with that stories and the beliefs, you then form your values, okay? And sadly, those values, especially when you come into the side of no self-worth, no self-love, looking for love in all the wrong places because you didn't get it at home, your values are very low, because you will find anything that looks like love and you will convince yourself that this is love, even though that person could be giving you the bare minimum, even though that person isn't really treating you okay. You see the red flags, but you know that it's better than what you had, or you have this mission to show them that you can be lovable. But the sad thing is, guys, you're not actually looking for love in this person. You're looking for the love you never got as a child. That's really sad, hey? How many of you sitting back now wondering, wow. And again, this isn't a blame game on the parents. They did the best that they could with what they had. But your identity then becomes somebody who feels that they don't deserve love, that they're not worthy of a beautiful life, or, abundance or safety, security, nothing like that. It feels normal or regular to them. And then you've got the people on the other side that overachieve because they've been told for so long that they're amazing, they're great, you can do whatever you want, you are so brilliant. And yeah, I'm sure they were. But where do they get that breathing space of, if I feel like having a day off, or I don't feel like performing to the level that they want me to do, what's this going to cost me? Are they going to withdraw my love? Are they going to withdraw, my benefits? Are they going to be angry with me? Are they going to be disappointed? Nobody likes to be disappointed. Nobody likes to be felt that or think that somebody's disappointed in them. I remember my own kids, when they were younger, they all said the one word they couldn't hear out of my mouth because it hurt them so much was, I am so disappointed in you. I look back to that now and I realise that wasn't about them. That was my stuff. And the one thing I'm going to say to people is, unless you understand how the blueprint works, if you don't understand how the structure of the stories, the beliefs, the values and the identity work, you're never going to understand the cycles that you're in. So I guess what I want to know is, if you are finding yourself in the same situation over and over again, just different faces, places, location, environments, workplaces, mostly relationships. If you're finding yourself in a new relationship, everything's great, but then suddenly it's all turning to shit again and you're starting to see the same patterns, have a look at yourself, right? Like I said in last week's podcast, we all come into relationships and workplaces and friendships with wounds. We all have them. There's not one person that's exempt from this. But the problem is we don't share those wounds with anyone, and we don't tell them what our wounds are because we're actually not aware of most of them, and an awareness is the most important thing, which I will come into again in the next week or two. But if you're not aware, you can't change this, right? When you make the unconscious conscious, wow, let's just say, you can't hide behind that anymore. You can't blame the other person anymore. You can't, hide behind what you've done or haven't done or what you allowed. And I'm not condoning bad behaviour, and I'm not condoning any type of abuse at all, not at all. What I'm saying is, when you understand your blueprint and why you attracted these type of people into your life, it starts to make sense. And me personally, it's been the biggest learning curve for me. I've had, my first marriage lasted 14 years and my second marriage lasted 11, 12 years. And I would consider myself a runner, because when things got tough or hard, I'd want to run because I would want to leave before they left me, because that's my upbringing. My dad would leave all the time. If my mum didn't do what he wanted, he would leave. It was unpredictable. It was sad. It was sad for a child to constantly watch that dynamic going on in your family. But again, we thought it was normal. So when I recognised that I was self-sabotaging, I know that now, but at the time I didn't. I would leave before they could leave me. And admittedly, there were reasons I left. I didn't just leave. Things happened. But I also, like I said last week, I picked unavailable men. I picked men who were not over their own stuff and weren't certainly over previous relationships, so would carry it into our relationship. And so that would absolutely fire up my insecurities and my self-worth and doubt and all of those things that come with not healing. And when you don't feel like you are number one in someone's life, that you should be, you look for more and more evidence to support that it's not safe, it's not okay. Someone who grew up in dysfunction is constantly scanning for danger. And as soon as I saw danger, or I saw that there was a threat, or that there was another woman, or there was, the secrecy that goes on behind this stuff, my gut has never, ever, ever been wrong. My gut has never been wrong. There were times where I probably should have left a situation and I didn't. And there were times where I probably, had I had the ability and the support and the understanding, could get some help to understand why particular things triggered me. And triggers are our friends. Triggers are the things that we haven't dealt with within us. We blame the other person, but triggers are showing you where you are not free. Triggers are showing you the wounds that you have not dealt with. Triggers are the things within you that you, when someone triggers you and it really, really pisses you off, that's something within you, because whatever's coming out is something you haven't dealt with. For example, if somebody spoke to you poorly or treated you poorly, and that anger and that, or, betrayed you in some way, that anger within you is because you have betrayed yourself. You have betrayed yourself for all these years because you haven't stood up for yourself. When we're judging people for the way they look, the dress, the size, that's because we're not happy with ourselves. Who are we to judge what people wear? Who are we to judge what, people do? I was guilty of this. I was in a group of friends that judged everybody. And I'm 100% hands up was a part of that. But having done this work and having seen now what our blueprint or our upbringing and our belief system turned us into, I get it. Most people are hiding behind multiple masks, which is why I want people to have the ability and the space to help drop those masks. It's the same as those parents that live through their children because they didn't perform and they didn't do well in sports or academics or anything, so they force their children to do it. So those children then grow up not only taking on their own, inadequacies or not feeling good enough, they're taking on the parents. So each time they don't perform and they don't win and the parent's goes off or, you could have done better, this is yours. This is not about the child. This is about the parent. The parent is living their life through their children. When we compare our children, when we against each other, like against their siblings, that's not okay either. Totally guilty of that. The damage we do to our children when we're comparing them to their siblings is phenomenal. Because again, then they go back, I'm not good enough. What have they got that I haven't? How do I need to perform? How do I do this? How do I do that? Guys, understand your blueprint and then you'll be able to understand why you do what you do. Recognize that this is not a blame game. This is not a he did, she did. This is what our parents were given, so they handed it to us. But until someone has the ability, the guts, the drive to change that, it's going to stay the same, and you're going to keep passing this on to your children and to their children. It's got to stop with someone, right? The other thing too is your language around your children, how you speak around your children. They form their beliefs, they form their stories. In utero, whilst you are pregnant, for the mums out there, for the women, whilst you are pregnant, everything that's being said to that child in utero, they hear vibrationally, frequency, the mother's mood. They feel everything. And I'm going to give you an example. Whilst my mum was pregnant with me, my dad was not happy, and he kept telling her how angry he was that I was coming. Now, my mum was stressed because she was already in a toxic relationship. She had 2 other little girls, and he kept berating her and yelling at her and screaming at her because she was pregnant again. Mind you, how did she get pregnant? Anyway, go figure. But what she was enduring in that 9 months, I was enduring. Now, here's the funny thing. When I was born, I wasn't allowed to, I was only home with them for a little while because I became very, very sick and I had to go into hospital and have surgery. Now, they weren't allowed to pick me up for, I think it was 2 months. So I didn't have a bond. I did not have a bond with my mum and dad. I liked anybody that was in white because it was the nurses at that time and people that spoke to me softly and kindly. When I was at home, Mum used to say, you just cried all the time. Well, I now know why I cried all the freaking time. My body was stressed. My nervous system was already in chaos. My little body never got a chance to regulate because it lived in it from the second that she was conceived. So what I'm saying, guys, is be mindful. Be absolutely mindful about how you speak around a pregnancy, what you bring into that child's life, right? Bring it love, bring it compassion, even if it's a struggling time. Bring it love, compassion, understanding, nurturing. Do what you would do for someone else. You wouldn't treat someone else's child with the disdain you sometimes treat your own children. You wouldn't treat yourself the way you treat yourself. Sorry, you wouldn't treat your friends the way you treat yourself at times. It's because we are so programmed, so conditioned, and so patterned that this is all we know. I hope that this has helped somebody understand that when fundamental needs of a child are not met or are overmet, it turns you into a people pleaser, procrastinator, relationship hopper, workaholic, anger, resentment, judgment, unsettled, don't belong anywhere, can't maintain a solid friendship. There's reasons for this, guys. There are so many reasons for this. And as the weeks go by, I will add more and more to this, but I'm giving you snippet by snippet so that it starts to make sense. And I hope this has made sense, and I hope this has helped somebody understand that it's not your fault, guys. It's 100% not your fault, but it is 100% your responsibility to heal and to sort this out for yourself, for your children, for your future generations, and just to get a life that you really actually deserve and love. Like what I've learnt in the last 9 years is a game changer, and it's life-changing. So on that note, I will love you and leave you all, and I look forward to connecting with you all next week. Have a great day.